Was that essential to the storyline? Like the exams and school life, I feel like there's a lot more that we can play on. Now we know where the series is headed. Could we have done without it? This is episode 7 of my vision for the Harry Potter HBO series and what I think should be included. This one's going to be Norbert, the forest and the final exams. There's quite a lot we can touch on here. I'm going to go through it by section and describe and understand what's in the book, what's in the films, what we can look more on. So before we continue, let's just do a little update on what's going on so far. So we do know that Leavesden Studios is where the filming of the series is going to be taking place. That's the original home of Harry Potter. So that's where they filmed it originally, and they've already filmed in start of July 2025. In the last time they filmed the movies, they needed certain hours taken out to go to school for the students, and that was kind of like playing on the timetables, and it took quite long for the films to come out because of that reason. But now they've actually built a school on site for the students while they're acting and making the films, which does mean hopefully they can have a faster turnaround on the video production side of things, so they can get the films out quicker, the series out. So it's always interesting to see that, and I saw that you can have up to 600 students rolling on that school while they're in the scenes. They can actually jump out and do lessons and then go back to acting, and they've got longer hours as well, so that's interesting to see that side of things. There's been a few images released wearing the full whole. You may have already seen some of the thumbnails. Dominic McLaughlin is wearing the full uniform. I did mention that the photo doesn't look as good as the Harry Potter original release. It feels like the first Harry Potter original release image of Harry Potter Daniel Radcliffe. It seems like it was more like a professional photo shoot because they had the right colours and the poses and stuff, whereas these ones are more like amateur mobile phone shots, it looks like, from the colours. So we do know there's going to be a season per book, so it'll be season 1, which is the first book, and we're looking at 8 episodes. So it's interesting to see how they adapt what's happening in the books versus what we saw in the movies, and it's always interesting to feel there's going to be a change. We're going to get more, hopefully, but you never know. There's been a lot of filming taking place of different scenes, but when they get to editing them, they may not all make it into the final cut of the video, which is what happened with Harry Potter. They filmed a lot of stuff, but they did not put all of it in the final video. They balanced out what they included. My vision for the Harry Potter HBO series and what I think should be included, this one's going to be Norbert, the forest and the final exams. There's quite a lot we can touch on here. I'm going to go through it by section and describe and understand what's in the book, what's in the films, what we can look more on. Hagrid wins a dragon egg from a hooded figure.
What?
You heard. Right, come on now, I'm a bit preoccupied.
We should see more around that scene. So like Hagrid's there, the hooded figure's there, the conversation that takes place, the exchange of information for an egg. That would be really great to see in this episode, because then if you're going to do it properly.
Of course!
Because it looks like the movie kind of skipped out on some details and gave us the dragon scene, Norbert scene, but it wasn't fully fleshed out. Norbert is raised in secret by the trio, so maybe a little bit more information around that, apart from them just turning up and seeing Hagrid with the egg. There's more there we can play on, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out in the series.
Seem quite glad to be rid of it, matter of fact.
Also, eventually they save Norbert by taking him with the invisibility cloak to Charlie, and like that scene would be nice to elaborate on as well. So that does lead to them getting caught and then the detention. So it's nice to see like there's bits there that the entire subplot for Norbert was kind of cut down. The dragon scene, there wasn't no emotional bond. We want to see like a bit more detail about how Hagrid kind of looks after the egg, and then there is a little bit you feel it from the way he kind of portrays it later on, but I think there's more there that can be done with that, especially around having Hagrid and then obviously Malfoy catching them, and then the consequence as a result of that, having McGonagall give him the detention, deduct points, and then send him to the Forbidden Forest like a proper, not torture, but like a real detention. I feel like Forbidden Forest with Hagrid being sent there was like Neville, Draco, Harry, Hermione. So like there's more there that can be built on the scene for the detention. It was darker. I think later episodes get us dark, but we need to touch on the fact of how dark it was, because it feels like there's different colors there, there's animals out there, there's centaurs, there's unicorn blood drinking things, and it feels like there can be a little bit more scariness there. I don't feel like there was enough scariness. It is quite early on, because I remember they wanted it to be like a PG rating, so they were limiting what they showed, but now we know where the series is heading. Maybe they can push on that a little bit. Mysterious cloaked figure they see drinking blood. Maybe we should get a glimpse of Voldemort under the hood to show who he was, so there's no ambiguity about who was there, because they kind of asked then, and Hagrid's then kind of saying, oh yeah, don't worry, if he's scared of anyone, he's scared of Dumbledore, and like there's little bits there that lead us to the fact we find out it was Voldemort, but maybe seeing him would be nice. In the movie, it seems like the scene's quite rushed and like there's not as much detail there, so I think they should go in full throttle on either the Norbert scene or the forest scene. That's an interesting option, isn't it? I think the forest scene, I'd go in full and give us like a full view of that. Norbert, maybe we can... Was that essential to the storyline? Could we have done without it? I think there are going to still be elements they need to either include or not include, because the looks of it, the 8 episodes, 45 minutes each, is basically just double what the film was in length. Can they fit everything in what double was? I don't know. Interesting option there. Also the school life element of it, like the exams and school life, I feel like there's a lot more that we can play on there. So when they're in school, maybe showing more around how Ron and Hermione were like getting cramped. They're obviously having like more tuition to get Ron to kind of get to the right level to be getting his grades. There's something we can play on there. Also maybe the humorous element of like the exams, because obviously there's like a turning a mouse into a snuff box. There's elements about broomstick exam, which is basically like a version of McGonagall and Hooch to kind of find the best people to be the like Quidditch people. I think in the book we see more emotional ups and downs in like academic life, so maybe there's elements there we can touch on. Hogwarts academics, like the house competition between like the different houses, more around that. I think there's a lot that can be played on there. The final exams were barely referenced in like the movie, and there wasn't any like tension between the houses for like getting the best grades and stuff, so maybe that'd be like a Hermione trait that they can touch on, but it depends how that goes out. And it kind of skips straight to the stone's location. There can be a little bit more build up there. So this is my theory. What do I think should be included? Let me think about this. So Norbert's not just a pet, it's a turning point, so maybe we need to include that, kind of show him the emotional bond with the dragon that makes the character vulnerable for Hagrid. Add that dark foreshadowing of the forest and like what's to come in later episodes. Maybe seeing like the hooded figure quirrell with the exchange of Norbert. I don't know, smuggling operation. So depict the smuggling operation, because obviously they're sneaking Norbert up to the tower at night, so it needs to build up to that. Maybe show some more of that. And the plot does give consequences, so it's nice to see that okay, they made a mistake, McGonagall kind of deducted the points, and then they gave him the tension which led to the next scene, the Forbidden Forest. What do I think should be there? So the scene's dark fantasy thriller, maybe touch on that fact, emphasize the fear and wonder of the forest and the animals there, touch on the centaur plot. There's like a whole thing there where we, the centaurs have their whole tension between like the different animals and like beings there. The Hogwarts culture, the school culture around the grades, thinking about the magical absurdity of the tests, because think about it, what school has tests about like magical stuff? So maybe showing us more of that to play on the magical side of things would be nice. So it is the calm before the episode in episode 7, maybe not so calm because we had dragons, we had unicorns here. So next time we're going deep into the trapdoor, the tests and the truth about the stone. That's going to be an interesting one. What creature or test do you think they should be elaborating more on in episode 7? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's always encouraging to see you're liking what I'm doing here, so let me know. I am also on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow along for theories there at Wondatell. Next episode in the series is just here.